Hello and welcome to this Friday's Facebook Live with me, Louisa Whitney from LKW Family Mediation. And last week I was talking about why I'm so passionate about family mediation as a way forward for separating couples. So it feels right that this week I'm talking about training as a family mediator and what's involved in that. I have to say, for me, I'm quite grateful that I am talking about probably a slightly less emotional subject maybe this week. My eldest child left school today and I've been to the leavers celebration. So it's definitely been emotional. So I'm pleased to be back on sort of firm territory in terms of something that I know a lot about and something that's maybe not as emotive as some of the other things that I talk about that involve a lot more emotions. So, qualifying as a family mediator. People from all professions can qualify as family mediators and in fact do. Quite a lot of family mediators come from legal backgrounds where they have been lawyers who've worked in family law like me, or sometimes lawyers who've worked in other areas of law. But there are also people that come from other professions to qualify as family mediators. And quite commonly, these can be people from therapeutic backgrounds, so counsellors, psychotherapists, but also social workers as well. So people who have very much worked sort of around issues that crop up in family mediation previously, but not exclusively. I've also spoken to people who were teachers. I'm aware of a family mediator who was a policeman. So it's very much, there is no set career route to being a family mediator. The training process for being a family mediator is that firstly you undertake a foundation training course, and there's various organisations that offer these, but please be aware that if you are thinking about doing a course to qualify as a family mediator, the course that you do needs to be by a training provider who is recognised by the Family Mediation Council, the FMC. And I know that there are organisations out there who offer training courses for family mediation, a foundation training course, and they don't tell people that they are not authorised to do so by the Family Mediation Council. And what that means is that when you come off one of those courses, you would not be able to register as a family mediator with the Family Mediation Council, which means that you would be outside the voluntary regulatory scheme that exists. So my view is that that's something that people really need to be aware of. I know of people that have had to unfortunately undertake 2 foundation training courses because of the fact that they weren't made aware that they wouldn't be able to register with the FMC when they finished the course. The courses vary depending on what background you come to family mediation with. If you have a family law background, then it would be unnecessary for you to do a family law element of the mediation course, because that's something that you would already be quite familiar with. But if that's something that you don't know about and haven't had any previous experience with, then you would need to do a family law element of it so that you understand, you know, the law involved in family mediation, the kind of things judges look out for, and all of that kind of area. And the reason for that is that mediators are there to facilitate discussion between a separating couple, and mediators' roles are very much to remain impartial. So family mediators are not there to say who's right or who's wrong. They're purely there to try and help you find a way forward and a solution. But part of that is being knowledgeable about what solutions there can be, things to look out for, knowing about how pensions can be shared and dealt with as part of a separation, knowing when there might be tax liabilities, understanding how child maintenance is calculated, how spousal maintenance might be calculated. These are all pieces of information that mediators can give to help a couple to structure their discussions in a way that's helpful. Where a couple in mediation are talking about doing something that is outside of what a court would order, then that's something that a family mediator should flag with that couple. For the simple reason that if you come into mediation and you invest time, money, and effort in coming to a resolution that you both feel you can work with, if you can't then implement that and formalise it, then it would make it makes what you've reached unenforceable, and it means that you don't then have the security of knowing that that resolution has been formalised. Where the resolution that you want to formalise is something that a court would consider to be fair, then it can go through the court process of having a judge approve that, and it's a paperwork exercise. There's no reason why anybody needs to attend court, and I really want to flag that, because a lot of people coming into mediation do so because they really want to avoid going to court and having that level of stress and acrimony. So it's not that you need to attend court, it's that if you formalise a resolution about particularly financial issues as part of a divorce process, then that's something that goes through the court and gets approved by the court, and that then means that whatever you've agreed has the force of a court order, so neither of you can go back on it, which can give both parties security in that knowledge. So that's why knowledge of family law in mediation is really important, so that you can help couples to structure their discussions, to be aware of things, and so that they can come out of the mediation with a resolution that they know can be properly formalised. So foundation training courses vary according to whether there's a family law element that's included in them. They vary slightly in content as well. I mean, essentially, they are still teaching skills needed to become a mediator, but they have slightly different approaches between the different training organisations. And if you're thinking about doing this, what I would suggest you do is to talk to different mediators and find out who they did their foundation training courses with, what they thought about them, research different courses, but very much ensure that any training course you do is approved by the Family Mediation Council. Once you have undertaken your foundation training course, you can then start working towards your accreditation. And the accreditation process for family mediators usually takes around 2 to 3 years to complete. It's designed to really focus on honing your skills as a mediator. So part of the accreditation process is getting mediation work and working as a mediator, and reviewing your progress and your work as a mediator, so that you're constantly reviewing your own personal development and looking at what went well, what do you need to further develop in terms of your skill set or knowledge, and looking at how you can do that through further training. All family mediators are also required to have a PPC, which is a professional practicing consultant. And that's someone that they spend time with, who mentors them and supports them and helps them to evaluate where they are at on their mediation journey and what other skills and knowledge they might need to have. It's also a go-to person. You know, if you've had a mediation and you thought, oh, I don't know whether I've done that right, or I was really concerned about this, am I doing the right thing? It's someone that you can always run that past and just have someone, you know, listen to you and tell you, yes, you're doing the right thing, or have you thought about doing that? I've been working as a PPC for, it'll be 2 years later on this year, and I really, really enjoy that work. It's something that I get such a buzz out of. I'm really passionate that this country needs more mediators. If you consider that there are just over 1,000 family mediators in England and Wales, And there are in England and Wales about 100,000 divorces every year. There's also couples who separate who aren't married. So if you look at those numbers of the number of relationships breaking down, and you look at the number of mediators, I think you can see that, you know, there is definitely scope for more family mediators. If you are passionate about mediation as a way forward for people, then I think it sort of follows from that you will be passionate about there being more family mediators to help couples who are separating to deal with things in a dignified and constructive way. A point I also make in my blog post that this Facebook Live follows on from is that there's a large numbers of mediators who qualified and have been practicing for some time and who are approaching retirement age. And that sounds like I'm being quite personal about my fellow family mediators, but it's, you know, something that if you go to a meeting of mediators, people will talk about. And ensuring the future of family mediation is something that is really, really important. I met with some of my consultees as a PPC this week, and so it feels natural to be doing this Facebook Live, sort of coming off the back of that. And the consultees that I mentor are at very different stages of their journey in doing their accreditation or being past the point where they are now accredited. And it's amazing the kind of issues that crop up in mediation. And my role as a PPC is very varied. Sometimes it's about pepping people up that something hasn't gone quite how people wanted it to. Sometimes it's about really celebrating achievements. And sometimes it's about passing on knowledge or directing someone where to get knowledge. But also I learn from my consultees. They have scenarios in mediation that I maybe haven't seen, or they deal with things in a different way. And I find it really interesting to find out how other people have dealt with scenarios. I really see being a family mediator as having a toolbox of things that you can use to help a separating couple to find a resolution that's tailor-made for them. And the more tools you have in the box, the more likely you are to be able to help the people that are with you at that moment. So it's always wonderful to learn from other people and to, you know, be shown things that you maybe hadn't thought of that might be able to work. The accreditation process is really quite in depth, so it's not something that I'm going to go into in any great depth today. But there is different parts of it in terms of getting mediation work, doing that work, and depending on which training course you do, you can either do that work as a sole mediator where there's just one of you in the room, or as a co-mediator, so you're working with somebody else. Sometimes that can be helpful when you first start off to work with a more experienced mediator, or it can be a combination of the two. And, you know, there are times when I think having one mediator in the room helps. But equally, there are times where having two mediators work as co-mediators, particularly where they bring different skill sets or where there's a particularly complicated situation, it can be really useful. I really enjoy having another mediator working alongside me when I've done co-mediations. And the other part of the training, the accreditation portfolio, is, as I've said, really reviewing where you're at with your training and what further skills and knowledge you need to develop to help you to move forward. There's also an element of it of having you observed by your PPC so that they can make suggestions as to how you can improve things and look at what you do well. You also observe an accredited mediator such as myself, so that you can kind of see how other mediators work. But I would really stress, and this is something that I'm very passionate about, that you have to find who you are as a family mediator. So watching other mediators enables you to kind of develop your toolbox so that you've got other things to call on or to think about, but it's not a case of trying to emulate what you see if you observe another mediator. I really believe all family mediators bring their own personality and their own previous experience and skill set to family mediation. And, you know, that's a really important part. So each mediator, as they develop, has to work on their own style and their own way of dealing with things. If you have heard more about qualifying as a family mediator and you think that it's something that you're interested in or you'd want to know more, please do get in touch with me. I'm always happy to spend a bit of time talking to people about family mediation and to point them in the right direction. We can have an online chat, we can have a chat over the phone, we can even meet for coffee. I'm really passionate about ensuring the future of family mediation and developing that, and we can't do that unless we have new mediators and the next generation of mediators. So I see that as being really important. You can always get in touch with me via my website, lkwfamilymediation.co.uk, and that has all my contact details on there. So I hope you've enjoyed this Facebook Live, and I will see you for next week's Facebook Live. After that, I won't be doing any lives through August because I'm taking an extended break, but I will be back in September doing Facebook Lives again, and hope to see people getting involved and asking questions and developing the blog topics that I post on the Monday of each week. So thanks very much and enjoy the weekend.